Hello everyone, welcome back. Thank you so much for watching. So today I wanted to go through Azorious Soldiers. It's actually picked up on the ladder quite a bit. It's now the deck that's being played the second most on the best of one ladder. Azorious Soldiers is probably pound for pound the most powerful deck that you could be playing in at least best of ones, and even in traditional standard, Azorious Soldiers is one of the more powerful decks you can choose. You would either want to play this or Grixis Control, I would imagine, although I think Grixis is probably the best deck for traditional, but Azorius is certainly right up there with them. So if, you know, playing the more controlling game isn't your plan, then Azorius Soldiers certainly is. So here I have two builds of Azorius. This one I'm just calling Azorius Trenches, and this one I'm calling Azorius Retriever. It's because of the difference between the two decks. So if we look at the Retriever list, this one is probably what you're more accustomed to seeing. So we have, you know, our one drop package here, which we could tune up. 4 Resolute Reinforcements, Thalia, Valiant Veteran, and Harbin. This is want to give them all, of course, flying, so the evasion is incredibly important. Brutal Cathar, which, you know, this list is playing 4 of, which I might not be too strong. This is a pretty 3-drop heavy list. It's playing 2 Myral, which this card is just insane. You get all of the soldier tokens you could possibly want. And then, of course, Retriever, because it's the namesake of this version, at least the way I named it. It's a 5-minute 3/3 flash. All your dudes get a +1/+1, and you prevent all damage be dealt to other attacking soldiers that you control. It's really good. So there are a few things. So again, this list was pulled directly from a 70% win rate list over the course of around 100 games or so. So that's an incredibly strong win rate, incredibly strong deck. There are a few things though that I don't necessarily like. I'm kind of all in on wanting to play 4 of Sky Striker. 4 Brutal Cathar I think is a little much. 4 Siege Veteran might be a little much. Brutal Cathar is a strong card, but it's extraordinarily situational, and you can very easily get blown out by this card being removed. And with, you know, cut down being a thing, we're already weak to cut down. I don't necessarily like stacking the Brutal Cathars like that, but on the other side of things, we essentially do not have room for removal in the deck, not like Mono White Soldiers does. Mono White Soldiers, you can play Borrowed Time, or they tend to play Borrowed Time at least, which is a wonderful source of removal. This list here, you know, and it also plays 4 Thalia. Ordinarily, you shouldn't play 4 of a legendary card. If you really want to draw it, you should play 3. So I could maybe see going down a Thalia, maybe up a frontliner to just round out our 1-drop package. Like here, we're playing 3 Harbin, although this is a legacy staple. You know, having the ability to play a legacy staple in standard, maybe you should play 4 of them. And the list does have an extremely good win rate, and plus it doesn't impact you at all. So you can play as many Thalias as you want to in your deck, and you'll never run into a situation where it makes your spells cost more, just because you play all creatures. However, I would like to play more Sky Strike Officer. The Sky Striker is just absurd. I mean, this is why you play the deck. Otherwise, you're just mono white. Like, this card is cool. It's not really all that necessary though. It's very powerful, but it is what it is. But this one here provides you with card advantage and tokens, and it has flying, and it's still a soldier. It's literally the perfect card. So, and at, you know, at 3 mana, having 5 points of power, or sorry, 5 points overall of combined combat stats is just not bad either. So the card really is slightly overtuned, and it's one of the reasons why this deck is just so prominent. So this is the current list. I'm going to play it exactly how it is. And then in the next video, I'm going to go over the other list of Azorious Soldiers. But let's go ahead and run this through. I would like to see 3 Myral maybe, so we'll talk about changes we'd like to make afterwards. Who knows, maybe we'll just be completely infatuated with the deck. So first, let me change out my plains and islands here, and then we'll get into the games. Let's just go Tokyo lands. Not often I get to use the islands. Okay, let's go ahead and run this through 5 games and we'll see what we think. Hope everyone's having a wonderful day. No, I certainly am. I'm grateful for the views my videos are getting. Thank you all so much. It's just truly incredible. Alright, so we're on the play. I like that. We have 1 drop into a powerful 2 drop, although here's where you run into the issue of, you know, playing 4 of a legendary creature. But we have our mana, so let's go ahead and start with this. Just realized this wasn't full screen. That probably looks better. Alright, so we'll start with this and a recruitment officer. Alright, well, we will need to draw land here. So we have 2 options. We can play Thalia or we can double spell. I think I like the idea of double spelling here, to be honest. Get in 2 points of damage. Okay, our opponent's playing a Jund list. We'll play this before combat to bring out the removal spell now. They're probably playing a... Well, I've seen Jund list play Portal to Phyrexia. Alright, if we draw a land at any point, we're just good to go. Okay, well, this is a land. I think I should just go with the Siege Veteran. It's okay. Alright, opponent needs something here. Let's play the Thalia out. Alright, so our opponent did have the board wipe. However, they have a lot of pain lands. It will probably be difficult for them to play the game. We'll have some flying threats coming in. Okay. Well, that will certainly get them back into the game. Nothing I can do about that unless I drew a Brutal Cathar. Okay, let's just go ahead and concede. Don't like wasting time and not having anything here. Opponent goes up to 7 and then has cards to play with. Yeah, so our opponent did nothing, went to 3 damage and played 2 cards. They played a Brotherhood's End, and then they played a Shieldred, and they won. So our draw was pretty poor. We got stuck on 2 lands. If we had been able to curve out with a 3-drop on that one turn, maybe we could have had the evasion to get through, but that's how it goes. We didn't draw Brutal Cathar to remove Shieldred, or really any powerful threat after that. We started just drawing all lands. But here, this is a fine hand. We don't have anything to do on 2 mana, though, but we still have our 1-drop here. Alright, so that's certainly going to be a good Brutal Cathar target. Question is, do I want to play Reinforcements or another Recruitment Officer? Gladly take a trade here. Now our opponent gets a turn here with Jukai Naturalist. Now the unfortunate reality is they have a 1/1 token into my 2/1 creature. Alright, that is a Catilda. Siege Veteran is nice, though. I would think rather just play like this. And we will just start drawing cards. Okay, it's going to be hard to beat. Can't really attack. I'll need to draw into another Brutal Cathar here, assuming I live past this turn. Okay, and that will just be game. All right, so the deck is not looking too strong. We are running into what, you know, 4 matchups. We'll take it into game 3 here, but we are currently 0-2, unfortunately. So what exactly is happening in the matches? That match we drew pretty well. It's just we don't have much interaction for enchantments, and that's a deck where you need removal on the spot. So here we have just a mono white hand. We're going to keep it, even though we can't play our Harbin, but we do have a pretty good slew of soldiers here. So our opponent's probably on mono red. Okay, it's not a very strong start for mono red. Okay, so I'm actually not going to play my veteran into the play with fire. They'll either need to kill my recruitment officer or they'll send this at me to try and scry. Squee is good. Now, we're going to pay 2 mana for 2 2/2s, assuming this lives. 3 3s if I get to play the other Valiant Veteran. It's a Raiju, though. We'll have to play defensively here, unfortunately. Wow, okay. And a lightning strike to boot. Alright. Okay, we'll move on to the next. Alright, a very quick 0-3 with Azorious Soldiers. Maybe this is just the Retriever build. Okay, again, we have access to blue this time. Not that it would have really changed much last game, but no 1-drop, but we have a pretty strong hand here that I feel comfortable keeping. No 1-drop is a little weak though. Alright, so the Thalia here on 2 will stop the cut down. They'll have to use their second turn to do that if they want to. Thalia, of course, has first strike. I'm not afraid to attack with it. And now our opponent will have to spend 3 mana if they want to kill this with a 2 mana spell. Sure. And then we'll Resolute Reinforcements, 2 mana for a couple of 2/2s. All right, and our opponent concedes. Yeah, so it looks like we were winning that matchup. I doubt they would have a board wipe or anything like that. But okay, so we're able to get a win against Mono Black. I wonder if the turn 2 Thalia was able to throw them off just enough there. All right, so we got a win, fortunately. We haven't seen the enchantment show up at all either. Don't think it would have been great in either of these games, though, or any of these games, I should say. Alright, so we have a mono blue hand, this time on the mana. So having some weird mana draws today, that's just not going to work. We have a 1-drop, but we can't play anything else after that, so we have to take a mulligan. Here, this hand is fine. It's a little heavy, though, but we do have 1, 2, 3, assuming we can curve out. We'll, of course, get rid of the high part of our curve there. Okay, probably not a great matchup. Depending on what they're playing, this could technically be Grixis or just blue-black control. Alright, so it is Grixis. So let's see. Alright, what's going to be more damage overall, or our best prospect for damage? So we can play Resolute Reinforcements or get in for 3 damage now. So 3 damage now compared to three, and then 6, 7, 8 compared to 2, then 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's an extra point of damage. We play Resolute Reinforcements now. Let's do that. And it semi-protects our Valiant Veteran on this turn. Sure. The Valiant Veteran gets protected. Don't mind that. I assume our opponent's playing with some kind of board wipe. Okay. So just a Corpse Appraiser isn't really going to do it for them. Question is, we draw a land here. Do we want to play the Myral or the Brutal Cathar? Well, I think it's just kind of answered for us at this point. So our opponent could have like a red, or could have a cut down or voltage surge, play with fire. I doubt they have those though. Probably just the Scry activation on Bankbuster holding them up. So we'll see. They could have a lot of different board wipes here. Burn down the house, definitely being one of them. That's probably going to be game. I don't think there's necessarily a way we can play around that though. This deck is extremely susceptible to board wipes. You want to play more mid-range matchups. But we've gotten board wiped quite a lot today, unfortunately. The opponent still has a fair amount of cards in hand and cards they can draw with Bankbuster. And I feel comfortable calling it there. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the deck list, I would like to make a lot of changes. This list, while it had a strong win rate online, that doesn't mean it's necessarily a good list. Of course, variance can happen. The list felt extraordinarily weak. It felt like I was just at the complete mercy of my opponents the entire time. Given we never even we never got to play our retriever. We just never got to that point. The games always ended well before we even got to 5 mana most of the time, or we just didn't have it the times we did get to 5 mana. The deck felt really heavy on 3-drops. The first game we played, we ran into the double Thalia issue in our hand, which it was dead. We never got to develop our board to the point where Harbin was able to do anything, simply because we played up against almost exclusively board wipe matchups. The decks we're good against, the more grindy mid-range type decks, we actually were able to win against mono black. But again, a 1-4 run with the deck is certainly nothing impressive, and this is probably a list I would avoid playing specifically. If I could change something about the list here, I would go down so let me just make some adjustments to how I would probably play this deck. Go down a Brutal Cathar, go up a Sky Strike Officer, definitely go down a Thalia, and up another Frontliner. Just off the top of my head, I don't like the retrievers at all because you just don't need them. Go up a Myral, and then we can look to see if there's anything else we would like to add here. How many lands? 7, 10, 14, 18, 22, 23. We could potentially go up another land here, although 23 is probably sufficient. We had that loss to mono red, of course. Something like a Dinnick, or maybe even playing a few counter spells, would not be that bad. Although we are playing Thalia. It could just be the 4th Brutal Cathar, because we do need some kind of interaction, even though it's not the best. So, just off the top of my head, those are probably the changes that I would make then. The deck would look something more like this. It's a bit more streamlined. You don't run into the double draw on Thalia as much, and Myral is just a insane card that you want to be able to play regularly, and you definitely want the 4th Sky Strike Officer. So this is how I would probably play the deck for now, this specific list. However, I think there may be some other ways to play Azorious Soldiers. With that being said, thank you so much for watching. I'm sorry the deck did not perform all that well today. Again, we did run into a lot of board wipes. Azorious Soldiers, in general, if your opponent's 1-for-1ing you, you'll win the matchup eventually because of value cards like Resolute Reinforcements and recurring threats like Frontliner and Valiant Veteran. Cards that make you a ton of tokens like Myral and Sky Strike Officer. You will win the 1-for-1 exchanges, which is why you're typically good into mono black. But whenever your opponent is board wiping you and then dropping a Shieldred, you're not going to win those matchups. That's what we ran into mostly today. Mono red, we had a poor draw where we didn't have blue to play our creatures. And they were able to just get around us with a Raiju, even though they had an extremely slow start with just a turn 2 card draw, and then they had a play with fire. We were unable to develop our Valiant Veteran, unfortunately, or else it would have just died to the play with fire. Although maybe we should have played it so that we did not get turn 3 squeed. They may have had a decision to wait a turn to play squee. But mono red, you know, depending if they have the right threats, because your deck is not particularly good at blocking, they can certainly sometimes find a way around, especially with Raiju builds where they can get counters on threats, and so your Thalia becomes less good at blocking and your other creatures become less good at trading. All right, well, thank you so much for watching. I hope that was at least informative for you. It may have not been the most entertaining to watch a 1-4 run with a deck, but like I said, I try to produce as much no-nonsense content as possible. I want you to see how the deck actually performs on the Mythic ladder, and this one just wasn't there, so I would not recommend it. But thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day.